it's hard. You stick out, you stand out. And what I've always, and I went into the trade thinking like this, is that I am going to stick out, but I'm going to make a good impression when I do, you know. I'm not going to be trying one of the boys, because I'm not. And there's no point trying to hide that. If there's any women out there listening, don't be afraid about it being a male-dominated industry. There's a lot of people out there who want to see you succeed regardless of your gender. And I think if you have that approach about it, then, you know, you won't ever be put down by it.
Welcome to the Engineering Success Podcast. My name is Mel Seatsma and I'm the engineering consultant here in the team at Tech People. Today I had the pleasure of being joined by Christie Hayward. Christie is an apprentice Boilermaker in the team at WesTrac. Welcome, Christie.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. So I guess to get us started, I'd love to learn a little bit about your career to date, how you decided to become a Boilermaker, and I guess how you ended up with WesTrac.
So it all started with year 9 and 10 at school. I did metalwork as an elective, and I fell in love with being able to create something and welding and fabricating there. So when it came down to work experience, I was sort of already thinking about electives for year 11 and 12 and finishing school and what to do after school. And I ended up doing a week work experience with a Boilermaker in Sydney, and I absolutely loved it. It was just amazing to be in that kind of field. And so it was my dad that actually suggested, well, why don't you become a Boilermaker? And a bit like everyone, I sort of thought, well, what is a Boilermaker? Like, what does that even mean? And yeah, when I sort of delve a little bit more into what it is and what you do and the way that can be a career and earn really good money in the process, I sort of went, yeah, that's good. That's a good option. So I then worked towards, I finished year 11 and 12 at school. And in definitely year 12, I then was looking into apprenticeships. Unfortunately, I graduated the year of 2020. So that was right at the height of the first COVID. So I found a lot of trouble in apprenticeships availability. I ended up cold calling a lot of Boilermakers around and sort of saying, hi, I'm interested in doing an apprenticeship. Got anything for me? And so, yeah, and then I came across WesTrac, obviously among a lot of other companies, but I put my name forward for WesTrac and I was very successful, which was really great. Getting the WesTrac apprenticeship meant that I had to relocate from Sydney to the Hunter Valley, and I got put into the Mount Thorley branch. And so that was a little bit scary as well, a little bit nerve-wracking being, you know, freshly finishing school and then moving away from home for the first time. But I mean, it all worked out really great and everyone was so supportive the whole way through, which was really good.
Yeah, it's such a big tree change. It's not even just moving to Newcastle, it's moving up the valley.
Yeah, that's it. So, but it was so much fun. It was so exciting, and the possibilities of careers and endless opportunities and people that I would get to know and work with. It was exciting more than anything, which was great.
Cool. You mentioned a little bit about your dad. I understand your parents have both got like a engineering style background. What impact did that have?
Yeah, so both my parents are mechanical engineers. So I've always sort of grown up in that engineering field and seeing what they do. It obviously, you know, I look up to them a lot. I really trust their opinions and they've really helped me out even still to this day. And so, yeah, it was sort of that support and the lifestyle that Boilermaking was able to give me. I've always loved regional areas and living rurally and being a bit more on the farming side. That's always a bit of a passion of mine. So getting this job and the apprenticeship and moving north, it was able to collide all those things into one, which was really great.
Yeah, that's really cool. Awesome. And I guess it's uncommon for, you know, a female to become a Boilermaker, let alone relocate from Sydney to Newcastle.
Yeah.
How did your friends react when you told them that's what you're doing?
I think they were a little bit surprised, but also not that surprised because I was talking about it a lot, and they were so excited for me even now, and they love what I do. My friends, we all do very different things, so I think it's so much fun when I can talk about what I do for work, and they love hearing about it and seeing what I do, some of the home jobs that I've done and fabricated, and you know, some of them I've given them gifts of things that I've made, and yeah, it's been really great. So it's really great that I have a support everywhere.
And I think something I learned from your journey when we chatted a few weeks ago was sometimes people that fall into a trade, and no disrespect to any of those people, academics isn't always their thing. But I think you're a little bit different in that respect as well, where you still were quite an academic person at school.
Yeah, definitely. I still tried my very best at school. I got a really great ATAR, and I just knew that going to uni wasn't necessarily for me. I knew that I was more of a hands-on learner, and I knew that doing a trade where I could get paid while doing it would probably suit me better. And that's not to say that I could never go to uni. You know, you can go to uni at any age. You know, uni's always there. And so it's really great sort of different path that I chose. And I love to learn. Even now, I've just finished another sort of TAFE course.
Yeah, cool.
And in CAD, like technical drawing, so more engineering drawings. So, and I just did that at home online, and that was more to benefit the skills that I've already learned in my trade. But yeah, I love to learn. And I think there's so much to learn, and, you know, in different avenues as well as the trade itself.
Yeah, awesome. For those, I guess, of our listeners who aren't so familiar, could you, I guess, give us a bit of a rundown of what you do in your role and what an average day might look like?
Yeah, so the day normally starts early. We're always up before the sun rises, but we sort of start with a toolbox talk. So we call it a PSI, so a pre-start, and it's where our team, so our fabrication team, all Boilermakers, we all get together and we go through safety interactions for the day before, or what to look for, make sure that we're all making sure that the risks are minimized during the day. And then we go through what jobs that we're all doing, at least for the first part of the day until you finish that job. And we also go through any other business updates. And our supervisor, comes down. We'll talk about that, and then before we all start on the day. And then the rest of the day, it sort of changes, really. It depends on what jobs we have in the shop. It depends on, you know, what the urgent jobs are. Depends on what I do. Sometimes I do 2 or 3 jobs in a day, and sometimes I do just one and stick to that one job. So, but yeah, and then the day can be anything from welding all day to fabrication. So fabrication more measuring and cutting and fabricating something, or it can be repairs. So we do quite a range of jobs in our shop. We do, anything from repairs to fabricating different jobs to handrails.
And the equipment you're working on is a really large mining equipment.
Yeah, it definitely ranges. So we work on Caterpillar gear, as a WesTrac is the OEM for Caterpillar. And so, we work on huge dump trucks or dozers, or and as being Boilermakers, we work on anything from the bare chassis. So that's a full strip rebuild back to crack repairs on that, or repairs. And then we do handrails and the platforms. So we do quite a range. So it's really interesting always what we're getting into the shop. It's really great to see when we finish something and it all gets put back together and we see this basically brand new looking truck. And you think, I was part of that. I helped that. So that's what I really find really great.
And you touched a little bit on before that you've been doing the kind of CAD design drafting course. Are there any other recent achievements that you're proud of?
That one has taken me the last 12 months. It was a 12-month course, and I did that of a night time after work. I really enjoyed that, to be honest. The CAD, and we work off engineering drawings at work. So to then learn how to draw those and the 3D modeling and stuff like that, it really interested me. And it was really great to learn those skills and continue to learn those skills. And so I think that's sort of the most recent one, definitely.
And what your apprenticeship are you in so far?
I've actually just finished. So I'm freshly new tradie. And so, at the end of last year, I finished my apprenticeship. So,
awesome.
It's definitely a big learning curve. You know, people talk about finishing your apprenticeship and suddenly you're a tradesperson and good to go. But I think there's still so much to learn, definitely being a tradesperson. I have a new sort of found pressures on myself that I think I put on, and, expectations that I think everyone is after. But, at the same time, I'm still learning, and there's people spend the whole career still learning. And definitely after 4 years, you're still learning even that. So,
So as far as, I guess, working for WesTrac, what would you consider being the perks of doing your trade with them, and I guess doing that particularly in the Hunter Valley?
So WesTrac is obviously a very well-known company, and there's a lot of things that they do really well. They have a really big involvement in especially women in trades and their promotion of that. And I've helped a little bit of that during the last few years of definitely just talking about my experience in the hopes that more people can be a part of it, and that it's not so scary. But there's, a range of equipment that you're working on and the different tradespeople that you're working with. There's so much experience, and people have spent 30 years learning and working with Caterpillar equipment. So it's amazing to be in and amongst those people and learning from them. And then the different locations. So WesTrac offers, you can move branches if you want. They have that availability that if there's spots there, you could potentially move to a different location. And during your apprenticeship, depending on what trade you're in, if you're, say, a plant mechanic, they actually move you around to different sites to give you that experience. And I think that's a really unique opportunity that a lot of other companies wouldn't provide, that WesTrac does really well.
Yeah, awesome. We also, I guess, often hear a lot about inclusion and diversity in workplaces. As you touched on before, it's really unique being a female Boilermaker in the industry.
Yeah.
What's been your experience around inclusion and diversity?
Yeah, so I did a statistics on this a few years ago, and I think women in boilermaking make up like less than 1%. We are such a minority, it's not even funny. But at the same time, it's pretty amazing that there is even 1% there, and that we are there. And I think diversity in any trade it's hard, you stick out, you stand out. And what I've always, and I went into the trade thinking like this, is that I am going to stick out, but I'm going to make a good impression when I do. I'm not going to be trying one of the boys, because I'm not, and there's no point trying to hide that. So I think as long as you have the respect and that you respect other people and that people respect you, I think it goes a long way. And I think being kind and true to yourself goes a long way as well. But I truly have had a great experience. Everyone that I worked with is very respectful of me, and I'm respectful of them. And I've had a really great working experience my whole apprenticeship and even now. So it's great.
Yeah. That's good, because sometimes you hear the opposite.
The horror stories, I know. And, my heart goes out to those people. They do. No one wants to feel like that. But yeah, I can honestly hand on my heart say that hasn't been my experience, and I hope that continues.
Yeah, awesome. Cool. So last year you were awarded the Apprentice of the Year by the Hunter Manufacturing Awards, which is awesome. So congratulations.
Thank you.
What has that award done for you as far as, that recognition from HMA?
That award was such an amazing experience, and I was actually speechless when it was a surprise on the gala night, and I was actually speechless when they awarded to me. I just couldn't believe it, and I think, personally, it gives me a lot of satisfaction that what I've been doing the last 4 years has been great, and that, I've learned a lot and grown a lot within a person and an apprentice, but also to provide an opportunity for myself in my career. The opportunities like this one that have come from that award, is really great, and they continue to do so. I did a few leadership conferences within WesTrac at the end of last year. And I got to speak about my experience, and I was on a panel with a bunch of other ladies. And so different things like that, it's all putting me out there. And, I love talking about this stuff, and I love talking about my apprenticeship and my experience. And yeah, it's really great. And I cannot wait to see what future careers and where my career goes after this. And that award, it really was the beginning of it.
Yeah. Where do you think the career might be heading in the next 2 to 3 years, or then that kind of shorter term?
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it, where you have to start making some big decisions, potentially. I found that finishing high school was a bit like that too, where you make a decision about what you're going to do afterwards. And I found finishing my apprenticeship is a bit like that as well. It's a bit like I was finishing high school all over again. Everyone's saying, what are you going to do now? And I have done a lot of thinking about it. And I think for now, I want to continue the job that am doing now, and train so hard and still learning towards, and trying to really get my skills, better consistently, but also look towards the future. And I think for me, I love being a leader, and I love leading and teaching people. And so I think personally, project management or some kind of supervisor is where I see myself heading. And so now I've just got to start taking those steps in that direction, definitely.
Yeah. Sounds like you're already on your way, though.
Yeah, hopefully.
So we just, I guess, spoke a little bit about your kind of future, but is there anything in that kind of what's in the future for WesTrac that really excites you about what's coming up ahead?
Like careers and the industry, it's always changing. And I think definitely being in the mining sector, it's always changing even there. And so it'll be interesting to see what happens, as more power stations, say, shut down, like Liddell, and how that impacts at all. But I think WesTrac has such a diversity in what they do. We don't just do mining gear, we do construction gear, we do Caterpillar equipment is everywhere. So I think it just might change a little bit. So originally, we were in the underground sector. Caterpillar had an underground, and Mount Thorley was where the undergrounds came, and we rebuilt them and repaired them. Over the last about 2 years, Caterpillar sold underground, and so it's then changed to now an open cut rebuild centre and breakdowns centre. And so even that change within my apprenticeship, I've changed completely what I was working on. I was working on longwalls and those repairs now, but now I'm working on open cut trucks and dozers and platforms and handrails. So I think there's definitely huge changes, and but those have been always a learning experience, and I have really gained a lot, and it's only advancing my skills, which is good.
Yeah, I think it's good to have the diversity of both sides of mining, the underground and the open cut.
Definitely. And I think too, for boilermaking as a trade and as a whole is so diverse. There's structural, there's mining, there's pressure welding, there's all the different kinds, and I'm only in one little section of it. They're so diverse. And there's really a lot of ways you can go, which is great.
Cool. I know you're still, I guess, in the early part of your career, but has there been like one piece of advice that you received so far that's really stuck with you?
I think the piece of advice that I heard when I first started, and what I keep telling myself, is to have a go. You don't get anywhere by sitting back and not having a go. And I know that sounds cliche, and I think a lot of people say it, but it truly is true. If you don't have a go, then the opportunities don't arise and you don't learn from it. I took a lot of pride, and I still take a lot of pride in asking for questions and getting trade people to help me if I need help. And I think I try and instill that on the apprentices underneath me, is that, have a go. The worst you can, in our industry at least, you can't really fail. You can only get better. And like a lot of people, you learn from your mistakes. So you take that as a learning opportunity and you move on. And so I think that's definitely a big piece of advice that really everyone can use.
Yeah. And what about to any maybe female or even anyone looking to, I guess, take on a Boilermaker trade?
I think Boilermaking is such a great trade. It truly is. It's definitely not a cold trade. In fact, you're quite sweating a lot of the time, especially in summer, but it really is a great trade. And I think for females, if there's any women out there listening, don't be afraid about it being a male-dominated industry. There's a lot of people out there who want to see you succeed regardless of your gender. And I think if you have that approach about it, then, you won't ever be put down by it. Yes, you will stand out. Yes, people will say probably hi a little bit more often, but that's not a bad thing also, and people are also there and they'll support you in all your endeavors. And that's really great.
Yeah. So I guess earlier on we spoke about obviously your parents having a big impact on your career so far. Have there been any other key mentors along the way?
Yeah, definitely the people that I work with, Bo and the team, they have been with me every step of the way, especially as a freshly 18-year-old just moved up away from family. They were nothing but supportive, and it really has gone a long way. And I think the respect there is great even now. And so that's really made a difference in the experience being positive. And then outside of work, my partner, Jake, he's there with me every step of the way, also a Boilermaker. So there's a lot of common ground there that, we can talk about work and the different things that we work on. It's really great to have that person there that truly understands what I'm doing and that we understand each other, what each other are doing. It can be different, but it can be also similar. So that's really great. But yeah, definitely my family and my friends, there's a lot of people. Having a network around you is important, and having people support what you do is really important as well. And so I think there's a lot of people.
That's great. Yeah, it's nice to hear the support of people, even though they're not in the same location as well.
Yeah, definitely. I'm always on the phone to people talking about what I'm doing.
Oh, that's great. And I guess outside of work, you got some pretty cool hobbies. Could you share some of those with us?
Yeah, I guess the main thing is that I'm an alpaca breeder. So I breed alpacas and show alpacas all year round. And so people take a step back when they see that and they go, what are you talking about? Aren't they just cute, fluffy things? And I say, yeah, they are. But yeah, it's a love that I started in high school. At the start of high school, I went to an agricultural high school in Sydney. So we were introduced to livestock, and alpacas were one of them. Since then, I became really great friends with people in the industry and some of my best friends. And yeah, I've just continued to do that outside of work. Basically, I have my own alpacas and I breed them. So I get baby alpacas mostly every year. And it's a really great hobby to have because it's something completely different. At the same time, everyone loves that I'm a Boilermaker. Everyone in the industry loves that I'm a Boilermaker, and then everyone at work loves that I do alpacas. So it really goes hand in hand. And yeah, it's really great, and they are some of the cutest animals around. They're cute when they're little, and then they're cute when they're big.
And have you done some travels with the alpacas?
Yeah, I've been really all around the country. I competed in the ASA Young Judges competition, which is an alpaca judging competition that I was doing. And yeah, I was a national finalist and reserve champion there. So that came from years and years of just doing the competitions around all over different states. So in a couple of weeks' time, I'm going to Bendigo for Alpaca Nationals and showing some alpacas down there. And I compete every year at Sydney Royal and help organise there. I do a lot of the organising of the youth events at the moment. So I'm on the New South Wales Alpaca Youth Committee, and I was a past president, and now I sit on the committee, and that is a way to mentor and help younger kids through the industry. So we do competitions, and really it's about just the kids having a great time with alpacas, and seeing how versatile these alpacas are. We can walk them around on halters, and everyone just has a really great day, and it's so great to see people learning, but in a fun way. And I think that's the way it should be, especially when kids are involved.
Absolutely.
Is that if they're not leaving with a smile on their face, then we're doing something wrong. But most of the time, if not every time, yeah, they love the day. And it's really great. So, yeah, I get a lot of satisfaction out of that as well, which is great.
I think when we caught up previously, you also mentioned that you and your partner, Jake, also like to, I guess, do some creative boilermaking in your spare time as well.
That's it. Like a lot of tradies, we have a big shed in the backyard full of lots of toys. And, yeah, we just love to tinker with things. We've made some really cool or modified things in the past. We rebuilt a 20-year-old box trailer that was all rusty. We got it back to chassis and replaced beams and put new floors in. And it's those kind of jobs that we can do together, and we get something out of it. Now we have a really great box trailer that we use all the time. We built a fire pit for my parents one year. We made it a horseshoe fire pit. I'm not sure if you've seen the dome-shaped ones, but yeah, that was really great. And man, I wish I made one for myself because I'll have to make another one. That's it. And so, yeah, there's a lot of great things that we can make, and with our backgrounds as trades and I guess our willingness to learn, there's nothing you can't do. You can always learn something new. So that's been really great.
Yeah. Being able to put it to use at home.
Yeah.
All those in it with the trade.
It is. And it's definitely exciting when you see something finished, once you've been working on it. So that's really great.
Yeah. And thanks so much for joining me. I really love your story and your passion for it all. It's so cool.
Thanks.
Cheers.